I just hope Canada's proud, because every player in that room is proud to be a Canadian. And yeah, did we need a win? Not only like our team, but Canada needed a win. And the players bared that on their shoulders, and they took it seriously. And this one was different. This wasn't a win for themselves. This was a win for 40 plus million people.
Team Canada's head coach, John Cooper, yesterday in the moments after that overtime win against the United States. Now, before puck drop, players and coaches really downplayed the political undertones to that game. But Cooper said that they clearly felt it, as he told reporters how badly the country needed something to celebrate. As you remember, Connor McDavid scored that winning goal 8 minutes and 18 seconds into overtime, sending Canada into a frenzy. It capped a day that saw U.S. President Donald Trump troll Prime Minister Justin Trudeau on social media once again, repeating his quip that Canada should become the 51st state. So after the game, with all that in mind, Trudeau posted this on social media: "You can't take our country and you can't take our game." He never named the U.S. president in the post, but it was a clear clapback at all of the comments about our sovereignty. Last night's game won't end the conversation, nor the comments about Canada becoming the 51st state. But will it change things at all? Let's ask the front bench. Sabrina Grover was a federal Liberal candidate in the 2021 election. She is a senior advisor at Spark Advocacy and North Star Public Affairs. Melanie Baredzi is a former communications director to Aaron O'Toole. She's now the president of Texture Communications. And former Ontario NDP MPP Gurdatin Singh is now the vice president at Crestview Strategy. He's also the brother of federal NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. Welcome to Friday, friends. Sabrina, let's start with you. Now, what stuck out to me was how Cooper said this was a win for the 40-plus million people. What does this do for the political discourse around our sovereignty in this country?
I mean, before the game, I was telling everybody that this is a game for our sovereignty. I mean, we saw that loss last week, and I think it hurt us deep in our hearts in Canada. And so it was really, really great to see this. Shout out to Connor McDavid. As a Calgarian, I feel bad about saying that, but, you know, this is for Canada. I think that it doesn't really change the discourse, right? Like, this is a hockey game at the end of the day, and it's not going to change the economic implications that Donald Trump has in terms of why he's wanting to take over Canada, why he wants Canada to become the 51st state. But I think what it does show is that that sense of national pride and unity and willingness to fight to the death is alive and well in Canadians. And whether you're going to see it on the ice or you're going to see it on on social media or engagements with political folks, that is not going to die away. And so I think that this strengthened our resolve in many ways, but I don't think it's necessarily changed anything from the United States viewpoint, although I did see that Mr. Trump has not commented today.
Yeah, remarkably, it hasn't said anything about the game or the outcome. And Melanie, it's interesting because I think a lot of Canadians went into work today maybe standing a little taller, shoulders a little more back, and feeling like, okay, finally something went Canada's way. The thing about all of this, though, to Sabrina's point, is Trump really isn't kidding about the whole 51st state thing. His former advisor and convicted felon, Steve Bannon, was convicted of contempt of Congress, reiterated yesterday in that conversation with Judy Trinh that he really does want Canada as the 51st state. So, to Sabrina's point, does this game really make any difference, or do you think that Canadian politicians sort of walk with a bit more swagger today as a result?
It was a game that was so much more than a game, and shout out to Connor McJesus for saving us. Look, I think that the Americans have really miscalculated, and they clearly do not have an understanding for Canadian psychology and how we think. We are a country that has been deeply polarized and very divided for the past couple of years politically, and I think we've all been feeling that. And the past few weeks, we've got like a common, I hate to say enemy, because the Americans are not at all our enemies. But we have a common cause now, a common fight that unites all Canadians, regardless of your background, of where you are regionally in the country, of what your political stripe is. We have a common threat and a risk, and we're bearing that together. And I think that the more the President of the United States says 51st state, the stronger we become bonded together again in the unity that's really been lacking in this country. And so the game last night was really like just the pinnacle of that sentiment that I think a lot of Canadians have. There's been this groundswell of we're coming back together again because there's a fight that's bigger than us right now that we need to take on, and that's this ridiculous threat of our sovereignty.
Gerdeton, on Melanie's point, does this sort of continue on? Does this Team Canada feel now translate to all of the conversations in the political arena, getting everybody more on board? You in the past on the show have called for this big Team Canada effort and almost like a war cabinet and that's something that your brother has called for as well, to really sort of close ranks on this side of the border. Can we use this moment in time, forget about the fact that it was a hockey game, this moment of time when everybody said, okay, well, we finally got one win, is this something that politicians look at and like, okay, we can build on this. We can build on this unity in the political class and across the country and go, okay, now let's move forward and march forward towards this common goal?
We should be using this to move forward and march forward in a common goal. And I think Canadians have demonstrated that they do want to rally together. We're seeing this increased patriotism in Canada in response to these attacks against our sovereignty and effectively economic attacks against us by America. But the reality is, amongst politicians, we're not seeing that same rhetoric. The Conservatives, I will point out directly, for the past year and more, have been talking about Canada being broken. They have been speaking down against Canada. They've been parroting the points of Donald Trump. We've been talking about the same common sense revolution that both of them share, the same threats to shrink our public service, the same points coming from Donald Trump and from the leader of the Conservatives. We see a direct alignment between the Conservatives, with Jamil Jivani being very close, with the lieutenant in the Conservative Party being very close to J.D. Vance. So on one hand, we are seeing Canadians coming together, but then you're still seeing politicians, particularly the Conservative Party, really spreading division. Now, I know that Pierre tried to do this rebrand last weekend, but I don't think it's something that people see as genuine, given the years and the amount of rhetoric coming from the Conservative Party. So I think Canadians are coming together. I think there are many on the political side who are showing this unity, but I think we do need to call out those, particularly in the Conservative Party, who have not shown this unity, and they need to have some response beyond their own rebranding to take into account and clarify that they will take the side of Canada over their political ideological bent.
So, Gerdeton, I guess what you're saying then is that you don't think that this serves as a moment for the Conservatives as well. Are you going to give them that sort of grace to say, okay, well, now are you going to get on side? And I'm not saying as a result of a hockey game, but do you think that this could be that moment for them?
It should be that moment. But then at that same time, you don't see Pierre Poilievre coming forward and distancing himself when weeks ago he was praising Elon Musk for someone who is the right-hand person of Donald Trump. And now you don't see him making that distance and that kind of direct response. So weeks ago, he's praising the endorsement of Elon Musk. Weeks ago, Pierre Poilievre was praising the endorsement of Elon Musk, saying his son wants to go to Mars or whatever his comments were. And now you're seeing a rebrand where he's trying to put Canada first, but he's not addressing the fact that he just took that endorsement weeks ago, over how long it was.
Melanie, does Pierre Poilievre need to do that, what Gerdeton is saying, and really sort of try and go full on Team Canada here?
I need to just address this notion that like Canada has not been broken for the past few years. Like, that is delusional. Look at all the work we have to do now. There's so much work ahead of us in order to get our house in order, to make Canada more competitive, to be able to address this big threat from the United States. Of course, it's been broken. The spirit of Canada will never be broken, and that has never been the discourse. On the topic of whether or not Canada is broken, it's always been about the administration. It's been about the ability of our government to actually do things, to get things built, to build pipelines, to open mines, to get products to market. We have not been doing that for years. And now we've got a ton of work ahead of us. So I think we have an incredible opportunity in this moment. There's this groundswell of motivation amongst Canadians to really invest the energy and the resources into building Canada back to where it once was, and to make it even better and even stronger.
I would just say, though, you can't have it both ways. You can't say on one side, Canada is broken, and then say, oh, no, I'm talking with the administration. If you have a critique of Canada, then critique the issue that must be fixed. But when you say a comment like Canada is broken, that is saying that we as a nation are broken. Our spirit is broken. Canada is our unifying front. And I would say my criticism to the Conservatives is they didn't say the administration was broken. They didn't say just the bureaucracy is broken. They said that Canada is broken. And that's where I will disagree. This moment has demonstrated that Canada will never be broken. We will never be the 51st state, and we will never be broken as a nation. We can do better, but doing better doesn't mean that we're broken.